Music is found in every known society, past and present, and is considered to be universal human. This lesson is intended for grade 9 learners. It is designed to discuss the emphasis on the opera composers of the Romantic period so that our young generations could be able to relate from where their music of today came from and how important is music to one's life. My dear learners, I am Teacher Jerome. Welcome to our learning channel. Today, we will discuss the opera composers of the Romantic era. So be ready with your paper, pencil, and self-learning module. In order to understand the topic, here are some of our objectives for this session.
Identify the opera composers of Romantic period. Discuss the characteristics of the opera composers of Romantic period. Appreciate opera music of Romantic period through analyzing its musicality. Perform a composed song about the opera composers of Romantic period.
Before we proceed, let us check what you already know about our topic.
Choose the letter of the correct answer and write on the space provided before the number. What was the registered legal name of George Bizet? Letter A. George Bizet. Letter B. Alexandre Cesar Bizet. Letter C. Alexandre Leopold Bizet. And letter D. Alexandre Cesar Leopold Bizet. If your answer is letter D, you are correct. Advocated new form of opera called music drama. A. Richard Wagner. B. George Bizet. C. Franz Peter Schubert. And D. Giacomo Puccini. The correct answer is the letter A, Richard Wagner. What was the most important opera house during Verdi's time? A. Oberto. B. La Scala. C. Otello. D. Suez Canal. The correct answer is letter B, La Scala. He was considered the last of the classical composer and one of the first romantic ones. A. Richard Wagner. B. Giacomo Puccini. C. Franz Peter Schubert. D. George Bizet. The correct answer is letter C, Franz Peter Schubert. Where was Giacomo Puccini born? E. Parma, Italy. B. Lucca, Italy. C. Vienna, Austria. D. Paris, France. The correct answer is letter B, Lucca, Italy. Congratulations if you got a perfect score, but still, we'll be learning deeper to learn the opera composers of Romantic period as we go on.
The opera composers of Romantic period has a great contributions to music industry. It has unique characteristics, historical and cultural backgrounds. Opera composers made great strides during this time to closely associate the text or words of a piece with its musical counterpart.
This time, let's do listening activity to the art song Earl King 1815 by Franz Schubert.
Es ist der Vater mit seinem Kind. Er hat den Knaben wohl in dem Arm. Er fasst ihn sicher, er hält ihn warm. Mein Sohn, was birgst du so bang dein Gesicht? Siehst, Vater, du den Erlkönig nicht? Den Erlenkönig mit Kron und Schweif. Mein Sohn, es ist ein Nebelstreif. Kind, komm, geh mit mir, gar schöne Spiele spiel ich mit dir. Manch bunter Blumen sind an dem Strand, meine Mutter hat manch gülden Gewand. Mein Vater, und hörst du nicht, was Erlenkönig mir leise verspricht? Sei ruhig, bleibe ruhig, mein Kind, in dürren Blättern säuselt der Wind. Willst, feiner Knabe, du mit mir gehen? Meine Töchter sollen dich warten schön, meine Töchter führen die nächtlichen Rhein und wiegen und tanzen und singen dich ein. Sie wiegen und tanzen und singen dich ein. Mein Vater, und siehst du nicht dort, der Königstöchter am düstern Ort? Mein Sohn, ich seh es genau, es scheinen die alten Weiden so grau. Ich liebe dich, mich reizt deine schöne Gestalt, und bist du nicht willig, so brauch ich Gewalt. Mein Vater, jetzt fasst mich an. Erlkönig hat mir ein Leids getan. Dem Vater grauset's, er reitet geschwind, er hält in den Armen das ächzende Kind. Erreicht den Hof mit Mühe und Not. In seinen Armen das Kind war tot.
Let's try to answer the following questions based on the listening activity. Write the letter of the correct answers on your answer sheet. Number 1. Introduction is played by the blank. Letter A, violin. Letter B, orchestra. Letter C, piano. Number 2. Movements of notes are in blank. Letter A, leap. Letter B, steps. Letter C, hopping. Number 3. Tension was depicted by low steady pitches and blank movements. Letter A, homophonic. Letter B, chromatic. Letter C, pentatonic. Number 4. The father part has blank register. Letter A, high. Letter B, low. Letter C, medium. Last part of the piece has a slow piano and then it stops with a blank. Letter A, chorus. Letter B, aria. Letter C, recitative. Let's check your answers. It's about time to know deeper about the opera composers of the Romantic period. Listen carefully and take down notes to the discussion. The parallelisms of music and literature were clearly evident in almost all forms of vocal music during the Romantic period. Composers interpret forms, mood, atmosphere, and imagery into music. Musical compositions such as art song was written for solo voice and piano. Like all program music, art song has its inspiration from poetry in this period. Mood is often set at the beginning with piano introduction and concluded with a piano postlude. Romantic artists found inspiration in landscape. Their subjects were traditional myth, legends, and folklore that usually deal with the supernatural, grotesque, and less ordinary. Here are the opera composers of Romantic period. Franz Peter Schubert. Franz Peter Schubert was born in Himmelpfort-Grund, Austria on January 31, 1797. The proper name of Franz Schubert's song is actually Lieder, which is a German word for songs. Schubert developed Lieder so that they had a powerful dramatic impact on the listeners. He topped the poetry of writers like Johann Goethe. He is considered the last of the classical composers and one of the first romantic ones. Franz Peter Schubert was died in 1828 in Vienna, Austria at age 31. His famous vocal music works or Lieder were Gretchen am Spinnrad, Erlkönig, Ellen's Gesang III, and Swaningsang. He also wrote piano pieces, string quartets, operetta, and Symphony No. 8 in B minor, which is the unfinished symphony. Giuseppe Verdi. Verdi was born in Parma, Italy on October 9, 1813. He studied in Busseto and later went to Milan, where his first opera Oberto was performed in La Scala, the most important opera house at the time. A name associated with romantic opera is that of Verdi. His characters are ordinary people and not those of the royal family like those found in German operas. He insisted on a good libretto and wrote operas with political overtones and for middle-class audience. Almost all of his works are seriously love story with an happy ending. Expressive vocal melody is the soul of Verdi opera. He completed 25 operas throughout his career. His final opera ends with "All the World is a Joke." Some of his famous operas are still being produced and performed worldwide. Verdi died in Milan, Italy on January 27, 1901. His much acclaimed work he wrote for the opening of Suez Canal are La Traviata, Rigoletto, Falstaff, Otello, and Aida. Giacomo Puccini. Giacomo Puccini was born in a poor family on December 22, 1858 in Lucca, Italy. He studied at the Milan Conservatory. He belonged to a group of composers who stressed realism. Therefore, he drew material from everyday life, rejecting heroic themes from mythology and history. Puccini's famous opera were La Bohème, Tosca, Madame Butterfly, and Turandot. Richard Wagner. Wilhelm Richard Wagner was born in Leipzig, Germany on May 22, 1813. He attended Leipzig University. He was very much inspired by Ludwig van Beethoven. Wagner introduced new ideas in harmony and in form. This includes extreme of chromaticism. He also explored the limits of the traditional tonal system that gave keys and chords their own identities, which paved the way for the rise of atonality or the dissonance in the 20th century. Wagner exerted a strong influence on the operatic medium. He was an advocate of the new form of opera, which he called music drama, where musical and dramatic elements were fused together. Richard Wagner developed a compositional style in which the orchestra has of equal importance in dramatic roles as the singers themselves. The expressive is aided by the use of leitmotifs or musical sequences standing for a particular character or plot element. His famous works are Tristan and Isolde, Die Mr. Singer, Tannhauser, and Parsifal. His work would later influence modern film scores, including those of Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings film series. Wagner died of a heart attack on February 13, 1883 at age of 69. Georges Bizet was registered with the legal name Alexandre César Léopold Bizet, but was baptized Georges Bizet and was always known by the latter name. He was born October 25, 1838 in Paris, France. He entered the Paris Conservatory of Music at very young age. Bizet became famous for his operas. His most famous opera is Carmen. However, when Carmen first opened, opened in Paris, the reviews were terrible. The shows were criticized in horrible ways that resulted in poor audience attendance. During the first round of Carmen, Bizet died on June 3, 1875. He was only 36. 4 months later, Carmen opened in Vienna, Austria, and was a smash hit. It is now one of the most popular operas ever written. Bizet never knew that audiences would come to consider as his masterpiece.
Now that we have learned the music of Romantic period, let's try to complete this table.
You may pause this video for a while so that you could answer this activity.
To sum it up, answer the reflective questions. First, who among the opera composers of Romantic period attracts you most and the lesson that we had? Why? Second, complete the sentence. I realized that the opera composers of Romantic period are...
Write your answers on your answer sheet.
It's about time to share your talent and skills in composing a song, playing and improvising musical accompaniment, and singing. Here's the process. First, compose 2 stanza song about the opera composers of Romantic period. Second, use improvised instruments to accompany the song. Third, record your performance and send to your teacher's account.
Take note of the following criteria to be used in rating your performance.
To check your understanding about our lesson, answer the post-assessment.
Read and answer the post-assessment in your manual. Choose the letter of the correct answer and write your answers on your answer sheets.
Always remember that these composers are contributory in the evolvement of today's music. Indeed, the formation of music was influenced by culture, religion, experience, climate, and technology. Dear learners, see you again in the next episode here in DepEd MP TV. I am Teacher Jerome saying, music gives color to the air of the moment.